If you're curious about housing inequality, I would love it if you could spend just a few minutes with me as I outline a couple of scenarios that really showcase what opportunities for homeownership looks like at different opportunity and privilege levels. I did a lot of research to make sure these were based on real life data from real cities, real prices, real numbers, okay? So, first situation, Beth and her partner got married about a year ago. They're both employed full time, making as a household about $100,000. They're both in corporate America, so they're able to work hybrid remote jobs. They both commute to work about 2 to 3 days a week, and they're near the city, so it's only about a 20-minute commute for each of them. They're in an average single family home rental, which right now in America is about $2,400 a month. They talk to a mortgage lender about buying, and they can get qualified for $350,000 as a purchase price. That price point is a bit restricting for their city, so they're going to have to go from 20 minutes close to work to about a 45-minute commute to work to get to areas they can afford. After a few weeks of looking, they find a home that's about an hour from Beth's work, 45 minutes from her partner's. It's a 25-year-old home that needs a little bit of work, but it's in decent shape, and it has about 3 bedrooms, which is perfect for their family plans. They got a mortgage payment of $3,200, which is $800 more than they were spending on rent, and now their housing payment is about half of their monthly take-home income. This makes them feel pretty nervous. They used to be able to put $500 a month into savings, but now they can't. So they're pretty nervous that if an emergency happens, which tends to in homeownership, thanks to Murphy's Law, they're not going to be prepared and it could be financially ruinous for them. But they're hopeful that they've made the right choice for their financial future and to provide their family the life that they think their kids deserve. Scenario number two, Sebastian and his partner also got married about a year ago. They're both employed full time, but they live in a more rural area, about 1.5 hours outside of a metro city, so the wages don't quite stack up to what Beth and her partner had. So their combined income only equals about $65,000 a year. They rent a small home inside of town that's close to both of their jobs, only about 5 to 10 minutes commute either way. They spend about $1,500 a month on rent, which is average for that area of a little 2 bedroom, 1 bath home. Sebastian and his partner also want to start a family, so they're looking to get into a 3 bedroom home and would love to explore homeownership. They start looking at homes for sale in the city and find that there's somewhere between 250 and 350,000 for what they're looking for. After talking to a lender, unfortunately, they can only qualify for about 260, 265,000 given their income. So unfortunately, they're going to have to go outside of the city to find a home they can afford, which also means that that one car that they share because their commutes are so easy, they're going to have to get an additional vehicle, which means an extra small car loan that also reduces their buying power. They're willing to be flexible though. They want this dream. So they go outside of town. They really compromise on a fixer-upper, but they're able to find something for 260, 3 bedroom, 2 bath. But gosh, it's a little bit old. It's about a 50-year-old home, and it's going to need a lot of work. But they decide that they're going to figure it out. They're going to put in the sweat equity and make it work. The payment is brutal. It's $2,300 a month for them, which is $800 more than what they were paying on the rental property. So if you count the new mortgage and that extra small car loan that they had to get, they're spending over half their income between housing and a vehicle. They're feeling really nervous that if one big emergency hits, as it tends to do in homeownership, thanks to Murphy's Law, that it's going to be disastrous for them and they won't be able to recover. But they hope that they make the right decision for their financial future and are able to give the family the life that they feel their kids deserve. I'm telling you these stories because I'm seeing too much blanket advice online when somebody asks for help becoming a first-time home buyer. They're told to just move to the country and buy a house you can actually afford. And I hope you caught it in the stories, but there's two real big problems with this. The first problem is that rural areas with cheaper housing also have overall weaker economies and lower wages. So unless you're able to find a fully remote job that pays six-figure big city income that will stay with you when you move to a remote area, it's not likely you're going to be able to maintain that income. Fully remote work positions are shrinking. A lot of larger employers are preferring more of a hybrid model, which means you need to be within driving distance of the office. And for most people, that is not a 2-hour commute outside of a metro area. So for most, this isn't really a feasible option and is pretty poor advice to give to strangers on the internet. The second problem here I'll pose as a question. What do you think could happen if a large number of high income earners influx a market that typically has lower wages and a weaker economy? Yeah, that's right. Gentrification, huge price inflations, negatively impacting those that live there who can't afford those same prices. So if many people did follow this advice, it would actively cause harm to those communities that you're relocating to because you're driving up housing prices, you're driving up cost of living, and you're even pushing out generational families. So what am I not saying here? I'm not saying that you shouldn't consider a lower cost area to relocate to. And I'm not saying you can't work remotely with a great income in a small town if it works for you. What I am saying is this is very poor blanket advice to be throwing across the internet without any nuance of that person's individual situation or circumstances or the potential harm that this could be causing if this advice is followed en masse. And look, the reality is it is the most expensive, hardest time to buy a home than it has been in the last 40 years. So there's real hardships and strategies that need to be discussed here. And I'm all for that. Just go and look at my page. But I have a real problem with bad blanket real estate advice on the internet. So I hope this helps. Follow me for more data-driven real estate content like this, and good luck out there.